The dawn of Medina was calm, the faint light of morning breaking softly over the rooftops as believers made their way to the Prophet's mosque. The year was 644 CE, during the 23rd year of the Hijra. Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second Caliph of Islam, had ruled for 10 remarkable years, years that transformed the Muslim community into a powerful state stretching across Arabia, Persia, Egypt, and beyond. Known for his unshakable justice, humility, and fierce devotion to Allah, Umar's presence commanded both awe and affection. On this particular morning, he walked toward the mosque as he always did, without guard or entourage, for Umar trusted the people and feared only God. The congregation was gathering for the Fajr prayer. Umar, tall and broad-shouldered, his face marked by years of service and struggle, stood at the front. He led the prayer with the calm authority that had become his hallmark, his voice steady and resonant in the stillness of dawn. But among the worshippers that day was a man harboring a deadly intent, Abu Lu'lu'a al-Majusi, a Persian slave skilled in craftsmanship but burning with resentment. He had grievances over a tax dispute and bitterness toward the Muslims for their victories over the Persians. In his heart, hatred had festered into murder. Hidden beneath his garment, Abu Lu'lu'a carried a double-edged dagger, sharp and deadly. As Umar began the prayer and the rows of believers bowed in unity, Abu Lu'lu'a slipped through the shadows. In a sudden burst, he lunged forward and plunged the dagger deep into Umar's body. One strike followed another, once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. The Caliph collapsed, blood pouring from his wounds, his voice breaking the silence with a cry, "The dog has killed me." Panic rippled through the mosque as worshippers realized what had happened. Yet Umar, even in agony, called out for the prayer to continue, insisting that the worship of Allah must not be interrupted by his suffering. Abu Lu'lu'a lashed out wildly, slashing at anyone in his path. Several worshippers fell wounded before he was finally subdued. Cornered and knowing capture was certain, he turned the blade upon himself, ending his own life. But the damage was done. Umar lay bleeding on the mosque floor, his face pale yet serene, whispering the remembrance of Allah. He was carried to his home, surrounded by his companions, men who had fought alongside the Prophet Muhammad and built the fledgling Muslim empire. Among them were Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Umar, and other close companions who wept openly at the sight of their beloved leader fading before their eyes. A physician was summoned to assess his condition. To test the depth of the wounds, they gave Umar milk to drink. The milk passed through his stomach and seeped from his wounds, a clear sign that death was near. Umar listened calmly to the diagnosis. He asked whether the attacker had been captured. When told that Abu Lu'lu'a had killed himself, Umar praised Allah that no Muslim would be accused of his murder. His concern was not for his life, but for the unity of the Muslim community. Even in his final hours, Umar's thoughts were on justice and accountability. He called for his son Abdullah ibn Umar and instructed him to settle any debts he might owe the public treasury. "If my wealth is not enough," he said, "then sell the property of the family of Umar to pay it." He refused to meet his lord with any burden of injustice upon his soul. He also appointed a council of 6 men: Ali ibn Abi Talib, Uthman ibn Affan, Talha ibn Ubaidullah, Zubair ibn al-Awam, Sa'id ibn Abi Waqqas, and Abdur Rahman ibn Auf to choose the next caliph. "This matter," he declared, "is to be decided by consultation among the believers." As death approached, Umar expressed a final wish: to be buried beside his beloved Prophet Muhammad and the first caliph, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. But the grave space next to them belonged to Aisha, the wife of the Prophet. Umar sent his son to ask her permission. Aisha, moved by his request and recognizing his towering service to Islam, wept and granted the spot, saying, "I had reserved it for myself, but today I prefer Umar to myself." When Abdullah returned with the news, Umar sighed in relief, whispering gratitude to Allah for this final blessing. The moments of his passing were filled with dignity and faith. As the time of Fajr drew near once more, Umar's breathing grew shallow. He turned his face toward the Qibla and recited the Shahada, "La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah." His lips moved in remembrance until they fell still, his soul departing to meet his Lord. The room fell silent as companions lowered their heads in grief. The mighty Caliph, who had humbled empires, left the world as he had lived, a servant of God, a man of justice, and a leader who feared nothing but Allah. The news of Umar's death spread swiftly across Medina. The city, which had known his firm yet compassionate rule, was overcome with sorrow. Men and women filled the streets, weeping as they recalled his years of service, the man who walked at night to check on the poor, who carried sacks of grain on his own back, who insisted that even the weakest in the Ummah deserved justice equal to the strongest. He had expanded the Islamic State beyond imagination, into Iraq, Syria, Palestine, Egypt, and Persia, yet remained humble, wearing patched clothes and eating coarse bread. His governance set standards of fairness that historians would later marvel at. On the day of his burial, the people gathered in the Prophet's mosque, their hearts heavy with loss. Abu Bakr's resting place was opened, and Umar's body was gently lowered beside the Prophet and his closest companion. The three Prophet Muhammad, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, and Umar ibn al-Khattab were now united once again, as they had been in life, side by side in death. The martyrdom of Umar ibn al-Khattab was not merely the end of a life, it was the closing of an era of unmatched justice, strength, and devotion. His assassination by a bitter enemy underscored the trials that would continue to test the Muslim community. Yet his legacy endured in the hearts of those he led, a timeless reminder that true leadership is not in crowns or palaces, but in service, sacrifice, and fear of God alone.